stay ever vigilant of all the looky-loos. It's always a safety factor, particularly with the kids.
Good morning.
Yo, good morning! Do you pronounce it Okios? Oinkios? Oink-oink-ios?
Oikos.
Oikos.
Good morning, Daniel.
Morning. Now I'm going to be in a vlog.
So for some reason, Daniel seems to think that I'm a famous YouTuber. I was trying to explain to him that Fox Jeff is more famous than I am, and certainly much more than a ham.
You're more
Much
famous.
more of a ham.
Who's got ham?
Bacon? Anyone?
Bacon?
Oh yeah, there's a piece of her. He's looking at cars and numbers and I said,
See the sun?
don't blind them, Dad.
This is my solar panel. Yesterday, it was ideally placed until it got dark. But right now, it is no longer, I would say it's far from ideally placed. Sun, solar panel. Sun, solar panel. Forgot I was showing you what I was doing. But I think we're situated now. They're all fancy. What do you want to do instead of looking at cars?
Looking at some Dodge Vipers.
I don't think they have Dodge Vipers here. What else would you want to do?
Go to Kids Adventure Zone, but
Let's go check it out, see if they're open. Right there?
oh, no, one kid. Yeah, she said.
All right, I've got a timer set for every...
Mr. Swell Runner.
Hey, how are you?
Mike with
Mike.
Team Hunt. Hunt, can you say hey?
Here's Team
Hey, look,
Hunt right
he's
here.
got the Swell Runner. He's Swell Runner.
I'm Ellen.
Hey,
Nice
Ellen.
to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, we've got the sticker on our Jeep.
Yeah.
Huh? What?
Nice.
We got that sticker on our Jeep.
We're becoming a junior ranger this morning.
Yeah.
I have stickers for you. I have a couple stickers.
Oh, yeah.
Well, cool, man.
Nice to meet you. Yeah, we'll see you around. Thanks, Mike. Here we go again, just getting to meet all these cool, fun people. Just so many good people in this community. I was talking to Jeff with Fox Expeditions, the other day, about how it's just so amazing how helpful and nice everybody is in this community.
So I'm just gonna follow through and watch and kind of learn from your
See
stuff.
all this stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
How's it going, man?
How are you?
Good to meet you. Yeah, definitely. How you doing, Chad?
Chuck, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Chuck, it was great to meet you.
Yeah, you too, brother. I'm gonna get into this class. Here, take my card.
Yeah, Eddie Morales.
Yeah,
This
what's
is Chuck, right, Eddie?
Chillin'. Kenny's inside. Fargo's in the Dometic booth. Yeah.
He sold me the C4 bumper. That was why I bought it right there.
Yeah.
Because it just looks great.
Yeah, yours
And then
going
you almost made me sell my 4Runner and get me a Tacoma.
Yeah.
Because yours looked awesome.
Holy buckets, look who it is. How are you, man?
I'm doing great.
Good to see you.
Good to see you as well.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to interrupt you
No, you're good.
talking.
No, you're fine. Sounds good. No, I'm excited. Whatever you want, I'm around.
Okay. Well,
Make me watch it. I love watching
Yeah,
it.
that's so funny.
videos and everything.
I appreciate it. Steve?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yep. What's your name?
Stephanie.
Stephanie.
Nice
Likewise.
to meet you.
All right, thank you. So, I'm late right now. I just spent some time with Isaac with Team 4Runner. Got a walk around video coming in his really cool truck, and that's gonna be either before or after this movie. I've got a fundamentals, I believe, of winching class, and I'm kind of booking it right now. But I gotta run by the kids zone, check on the kids. I see Lily, and I see a ton of kids. There's way more kids at this one than there were at West, which is great. You having fun? Hey, easy, Ben. You're gonna hit somebody. But I gotta go to class. I'll see you in a little bit.
This is my friend.
There's a lot more kids here at this one than there were at West.
What are you doing?
I'm filming me going to the bathroom.
Oh.
I forgot to put on sunscreen. And with this being a winching class, I'm pretty sure that I'm gonna be outside and that I would regret not having sunscreen on. You know what I need to do? I need to make a long sleeve shirt that's not a dark color. That would be smart.
Right there.
As you're thinking about getting set up,
winching.
here's something to think about. The ones that are not sealed will end up having a drain hole on them. And the drain hole can be in one or two places depending on the position. So this is a vertical mount, so the feet are down at the bottom, and you can have a horizontal mount in some bull bars where the feet are actually on the front. And this one, it's a vertical mount, so the bolts pulling on this are on the bottom, and you want to make sure that if
I'm gonna pay attention.
does your
I'll check back later. Well, that was awesome. Super, super informative. Let me tell you what I learned. If the winch isn't waterproof, make sure the drain hole is at a good position to drain out. When mounting a control panel, consider heat and chafing over time. These are notes on how to pick a good winch. They mentioned brands like Warn, maybe Super Winch was another one. They didn't mention Smittybilt, and I meant to ask them if they thought that was a decent winch. They did caution to make sure that you don't pick something that's like a cheap Chinese manufacturer knockoff, eBay, Alibaba, imported one-off, something or other. If you think about it, if you're going to be using this in a potentially dangerous recovery situation, you want to get something that's going to be a good quality product. Batteries in my back pocket, it's really uncomfortable. Resist stainless steel. It's weaker. They said, and this was a fun moniker, choose surface rust over stainless. They said look for a series wound, it's higher quality. They said what usually breaks is going to be one of the connectors or brackets. When a steel line breaks, when a steel winch cable breaks, the process is very violent. They were saying that, you know, if the cable itself breaks, you know, the cable lines are they're not braided, I think they're twisted. And it was saying that, I mean, they try to come unraveled. It can be very violent and potentially very dangerous. But they were talking about a synthetic line. When it breaks, it typically just falls to the ground. It's braided, it doesn't come apart, but if it breaks, it just falls to the ground usually. It can rebound some, and there's some things that I'm going to talk about in a second to help prevent some of that rebound or make it a little bit safer. And they were also talking about synthetic line. You can also splice, but you can't repair steel cable, but you can repair, like I said, synthetic cable. They were teaching, they were saying synthetic line picks up more than steel. Like if you're in a recovery situation and you're in the mud, that it will pick up more of that mud that will then dry to dirt, that the dirt will then be corrosive to the material and over time can like act like little razor blades, sandpaper if you will, in there that can eventually make that cable, cause that cable to wear out quicker. So they were saying after a recovery situation in the mud where you get the synthetic line dirty, you do want to make sure that you wash it. Just get a bucket of water, soapy water if you want to, and a clean water, stick it in there and just rub it around and just do your best to get it clean.
This is stop. If I need him to move it just a little bit, I'll go like this. Okay. If I need him to steer either way, again, I'm going to use big signals like this. So this way. I don't want to, do anything that's confusing, like use this arm to point that way.
And then they were talking about fair leads. I have no idea how to spell it, but the fair lead, it's that thing that the line comes out of that's attached to the front of your bumper or the winch or whatever, and it helps make sure that the line, if it's going at an angle up and down or whatever, it's got a nice smooth, a good surface. Like if it was a plastic fair lead, for instance, you can imagine if that got hot, it would create a big mess, right? So it needs to be obviously a good quality material, probably steel, I imagine. Maybe aluminum is a common fair lead material. But there's two types of fair leads. You've got a roller fair lead, I believe, and you've got
Dad,
a house fair lead.
We're going down to the food place.
So you've got a roller fair lead and you've got a house fair lead. Maybe house. what I have on the 4Runner is a Haas fair lead. The roller fair lead has the rollers on the side and the rollers on the top. They were saying those are better in terms of like keeping the heat down in like really intense recovery situations, but they were saying the Haas fair leads are really, really good as well. He was saying that most prefer, in terms of a connector at the end of the winch line, he said, the instructor said most people, he said the hooks are fine, he said, but no, they're not 100% ideal. The 100% ideal would be a totally closed connector.
Yeah, and just as you're starting, a couple things to consider. One, safety is always first. All right. Second is don't rush it. Do not rush it. And third, no matter what you do, make sure you both go over your signals before you start, so there is no miscommunication.
They were saying if you're going to winch off a tree, always use a tree saver. They were saying that, and this is important, that you should match the shackles, the weight rating of the shackles that you're using with the winch that you're going to be using. And to give you an example, if you've got a 10,000 pound winch and a 5,000 pound shackle, that doesn't do you a lot of good. You need to make sure you have a shackle that's rated at the same weight rating or more as your winch. They said make sure that whatever shackle you're using has the working load stamped on it. And he also said soft shackles, which are made out of, it looked like synthetic line with like a knot. He said soft shackles are incredibly strong and very light, however they're more restrictive on their use and will wear much quicker. But they're good for getting into tight spaces.
What he's going to be doing is tensioning the winch first to make sure everything's good. And once he starts reeling it in, then he'll want to be in drive and add just sufficient power when he can to help the vehicle move along. He doesn't want to spin the tires, but he can help it along. And then as soon as it's out where he's clear, he stops, detensions the winch, and we lower it. So he's clear. Moves out.
Here's something else that's interesting. Let's say you've got a 6,000 pound vehicle and you go, I don't need a 10,000 pound winch. My vehicle's only 6,000 pounds. The easiest way to calculate what you would need is get a winch that's rated 1.5 times the weight of the vehicle. So if you have a 4,000 pound vehicle, you should get a winch that would be 6,000 pounds. So what if I'm in a scenario where I've got 3,000 pound trailer, 4,000 pound vehicle, and now I've got a 7,000 pound, liability issue. So 7,000 pounds times 1.5 is 10,500. So technically my winch is just borderline capable. And he was saying there's other things that actually that need to be factored in. He said, for instance, if you have your entire line out, that's your maximum load rating. But if you only have like 10 feet of line out, then it's significantly less. So if you're a 10,000 pound winch and you only have 10 feet of line out, there's actually a mathematical calculation that I do not have offhand, but they did talk about it.
Hey Dad, Ben's coming your way. Said you didn't want anything from that.
You can also double the power of your winch and cut the speed in half, so if the winch is moving at a certain speed.
And if I need him to stop, I just go like this and say back out, because I want to get that in there. Okay, in. And then once I'm to here, I just pinch this.
Stay ever vigilant of all the looky-loos. It's always a safety factor, particularly with the kids.
Okay, you're okay. Back across. Maybe come this way.
Stuff comes in serving him regardless.
Yeah. Oh, right. Now, what are you noticing?
Slower.
Look at how much slower it's going.
Yeah.
You can actually double the power of your winch and cut the speed in half by using a pulley. So your winch is pulling at a certain speed, and then if you use a pulley, you're doubling up the line, and the actual speed in which the vehicle is moving is cut in half. And they were saying that that's actually a good thing, because anytime you can slow a process like this down, you're putting yourself in a position of strength in terms of safety. But let me give you an example. So you can run the winch line. So you take the winch line out of the winch, you run it up through a pulley on an anchor point, whether it be a vehicle or a tree, and then back down, and then the connector mounts to a recovery point on the actual vehicle. So it's, the lines are running, they're running parallel. You actually double the pulling power of the winch. They were saying just because you're running through a pulley doesn't mean you've doubled the capacity or the ability for that winch to pull a heavier load. You haven't doubled it just because you're running it two ways. They said if both lines are moving and becoming shorter, then, not if both lines are moving, but if both lines are becoming shorter, then you're doubling it. But let's say you have the cable coming from the winch through a pulley to another recovery point or to another vehicle. Well, when you pull, you're not doubling up.
Put it back then.
You're just changing the direction of the pull. It's not, one of those lines are getting shorter, but you're not doubling it up. I hope that makes sense. I don't know if that makes sense at all, but make sure no one's standing within the triangle. So let's say you had a scenario where you had the vehicle here, you had the line coming out here, you had a recovery, a pulley, and then you had a redirect over here to another anchor. That person standing right there is in a really seriously dangerous position, I should say. If anything happens, they're right in the line of fire. Don't stand there. The other thing that I thought was interesting is he was saying that putting up the hood of the vehicle that has the winch isn't necessarily always a good thing. One of the comments that I've seen is that you should always put the hood up because if something comes flying, it'll act as a barrier. You really need to make that decision on whether or not you're going to do that based on the scenario. He said some hoods may not be good for that. So I thought that was interesting. He said putting the hood up isn't always a good idea. It impairs vision and it's not secure and it can create additional hazards, but it's not always a bad idea either. You might think you're helping by driving when you get traction. I thought this was interesting. But you're releasing line tension, which is very dangerous because then when line gets tension back, it can be a really dangerous scenario if everybody isn't aware. Don't release tension until you're done completely with the recovery. When putting in the shackle, turn until it's tight, and then it says back out a quarter. I thought that was really interesting too, because a lot of people, you would think you'd want it to be nice and snug, but he said when you put like 10,000 pounds of load on something, after it's been tightened down, you may be in a scenario where you can't get it undone, which then creates another problem. Never step over a winch line. Ronnie Dahl, in one of his winching videos, he said, if you got to step over a winch line, step on the line itself. The instructor was saying, just walk around the vehicle. It's not that big of a deal. If you were in a scenario where you can't walk around the vehicle, yeah, maybe stepping on a line would be the most ideal. You definitely don't ever want to straddle the line, but you just want to walk around the vehicle. They were saying actually the safest way to handle a recovery vehicle or a vehicle that's going to be used as an anchor point is to chock the wheels. Always use a line blanket with rocks or something in them. Also, let your vehicle run for a while after you do the winch, the one that's actually got the winch. Don't finish the winching and then turn the vehicle off because they're saying that the winch is using a lot of amperage and it's definitely going to draw the battery down. Let the vehicle run for a little bit so that it can help recharge the battery. And he said make sure the recovery points you're using on the vehicle are rated recovery points. He said those little loops that you have on the front corners and the back corners either side of the vehicle, he said those are not rated recovery points. And I actually didn't know that. I kind of thought they were. Those are only there to help to tie the vehicle down on the container ship as it's coming overseas. In a recovery situation, he said you always start from simple to complex. So if you can hook a tow strap up to a vehicle or a snatch strap up to the vehicle that's needing to be recovered and then hook it up to another vehicle that's going to do the recovering, and that works, great. Then after that, try the next step. And then he said, you only use winching when that's what you need to use in order to get the vehicle out. On the winch line itself, whenever you're putting the winch line on the spool, you want to have at least 6 lines or 6 wraps around the spool in order for it to be capable of holding the weight. There's a little screw pin there that holds it in place. That is not capable of holding any weight at all. That's not what it's designed for. It's just designed to hold the line in place so you can get it spooled over. And then they're also saying the line is always spooled under the drum. And that's it. I hope you learned a bunch. I know I learned a ton from this class. I'm actually breaking this first day of Expo East into 2 vlogs. The second part of this first day at Expo East is actually going to have the next class where we have like a cross axle picking a line class. It was amazing. And the second portion of our day. That's it. If you like what we're doing, please support us by making sure you're subscribed to our channel. You can subscribe to us by clicking on that little circle of me right there. The second thing you can do is you can shop our merch store. We have all kinds of fun swag like t-shirts and patches and stickers and hats and hoodies and all kinds of crap like that. Plus the patches and stickers, we actually fulfill them ourselves, and the kids write a little thank you note in there. So it's kind of fun. They're totally involved in that. I appreciate you watching. Thanks so much, and thank you. Thank you. Bye.